What's going on, guys? It's Shane here from House of Cards TCG, and today we have the most highly requested video that we've had in a long time. It's for our How to Beat series, which is designed to help you prepare for regionals. Nationals are coming up. We have Euros this coming weekend, and then we have the NAWCQ. Some of the most highest competition in the world will be playing. And you're not going to want to miss this because this deck is insane. It'll probably be one of the most represented decks in the room. The deck is Runick Spright. The variant that's seeing a lot of play recently is the Live Twin build. There's also a Fur Hire build, and then there is just a Runick Spright kind of stun build with some Melfi cards. I haven't really seen that one as much. But we're going to focus more on the Live Twin build. I've been seeing that one everywhere. It's extremely powerful. And if you don't know what you're doing versus that deck, you're going to get blown out. I know I did the first couple times. I played against it a lot recently, and I've kind of compiled exactly how to beat this deck, what cards to side in, what cards just utility-wise are going to be the best, and where to use them. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. We got some more how to beat videos coming for national season. We got Worlds coming up. We got the NAWCQ. So make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's go ahead and hop right in.
House of Cards
TCG.
Okay, guys, so before we hop right in, make sure to check out the link in the description for our official House of Cards TCG merch. We have this nice playmat. It's a really nice cloth. It has a really good feel. Cards slide right on it. And then we have this hoodie as well. Make sure to go ahead and check it out. So first thing I wanted to go over with this deck is a sample deck list of what you might be facing if you're playing against a Runick Live Twin Spright deck. This deck has gained a lot of popularity. It was played a lot at the German Nationals. It's been played a lot in Europe. It's one of the most played decks in Europe. Anything with Spright and Runick cards in it is seeing a lot of representation. So I wanted to go ahead and break down what you might be looking at if you're playing against this deck. So the funny thing is, starter is at 2, but this deck only plays 1 of it. It's really, not that, it's okay. It's not that good of a card in this deck. But as you can see, it's mostly engine cards. So you really only have the 6 flex spots. And this is just kind of a build that I had put together, thinking about if I were going to play the deck, how I would build my deck. I really like talents a lot, this format. I think it's really impactful. It allows you to keep playing if you get hand trapped. And even going second, it can really be impactful in breaking boards. And then I liked Impermanence because it's just generically really strong. It doesn't trigger the talents. You're not really playing into that if you're going second, which is great. And a well-timed Impermanence is, don't sleep on it. That can end a lot of turns. I've seen a lot of builds playing Evenly Matched. That's a really strong card as well. Other cards you might face in the main deck would be something like Dark Ruler. Because you only have the 6 spots, you really have to make sure that the cards that you choose are going to do enough. So that could maybe be a reason. I wouldn't necessarily always anticipate them having Impermanence. It could be something more impactful like a Nibiru, or like I said, an Evenly Matched is probably something to expect in the main deck. But otherwise, yeah, we have 2 jet, 1 red, 3 blue. It's all kind of standard, 1 carrot. This build has a slightly smaller Evil Twin, Live Twin count. So we just did the 1 pink, the 1 Kiss to Kill, and then the 1 Kiss to Kill Frost. The pink one, the Kiss to Kill, is pretty bad. You don't really want to see that one. And you don't really even want to bring it out of the deck. You really want to see the Lila and bring out the Frost because that's going to get you an extra draw during your opponent's turn. And then the 1 starter, you got the standard Runick lineup, 3 Freezing Curses, 3 Tip, 3 Slumber, 3 Flashing Fire, 3 Destruction, and then 2 Fountain, and the 1 Dispelling. Just kind of, you want to have a pretty high Runick count when you're building this deck. The Smashers is optional. Some builds might not be playing that. and then the 2 Sunny Snitch just to try to get you into your combo. The board is a lot weaker if you can't get into your live twin plays, so you really want to open one of the live twins. So Sunny Snitch is the same thing, it's just an extra copy of Leela, but the only downside is it plays into Droll a little bit more. And then you have the 1 Gary, the 2 Moonin, 1 Gigantic. Like I said, a lot of this is really standard. There's not many flex spots in this extra deck. So you have the Trouble Sunny, the Abomination, the Griffin, the Unicorn, Sprint, and then you have your live twins, the Muckracker, and the Masquerena. So we'll go into what a typical end board looks like if you're going to be playing against this deck. So they'll have the Fountain up, they will have the IP, and the zone placement is really important when you're playing against this deck. So the middle zone there, that's where you're going to summon the Nightmare Griffin, and we'll go over that next. We'll pull up what that looks like and kind of what exactly that does. But you have the 1 Leela, the 1 Kiss-a-Kill, and they keep the carrot to play around evenly matched. Evenly is one of the best board breakers versus this deck, but the fact that it's a standard play to keep up a carrot makes it not as vulnerable to the evenly matched. And then the other good part about it is you use the carrot and you tribute the Kiss-a-Kill or the Leela, and then you can bring back one or the other to either pop a card or draw a card, depending on the game state. And then we obviously have, you're going to want to expect that they have at least 1 Runick card in hand to trigger the Fountain during your turn. This particular hand, they had 2. They had Flashing Fire plus a Freezing Curses. Really powerful. This end board is extremely hard to deal with. The fact that their negation is layered and they're going to be drawing cards during my turn is going to make it really hard. So this is what it looks like. Typically, when they go to the main phase, the first action that they're able to do, they're going to want to activate the IP Masquerena, and they're going to use the IP plus either, like I said, either the Kiss-a-Kill or the Leela, and they're going to make Nightmare Griffin. It's important that they make Nightmare Griffin in this zone, because Nightmare Griffin is actually a skill drain for monsters that aren't linked. So as you can see, there's nowhere for you to put a link where it could be linked to the Griffin. So typically when someone makes a Griffin against you, they're going to make it in the EMZ, which means that you can just kind of put your monster there, and now your monster is linked, and you can activate the effects to kind of play around it. But this is essentially trapping the opponent into a skill drain because they can't activate monsters' effects if they aren't linked, and there's really nowhere to put a monster that would be linked. So they have you under that skill drain-like effect, and then also at any time they can activate their Kiss-a-Kill, bring back the Leela, and pop a card. So it's really strong that they have this. He's got the Freezing Curses, like I said, the Flashing Fire. And if you look at the Banished pile, there's also the Kiss-a-Kill Frost there. So I searched a card, I think, in this matchup, and then they triggered the Graveyard effect to be able to draw a card. So on top of that, they drew into, I think it was another Flashing Fire. So I'm under the skill drain. They have Carrot that can tribute. They have, typically they're going to want to use the Kiss-a-Kill first to bring back the Leela, and then Carrot tribute the Kiss-a-Kill, and then Leela can bring back the Kiss-a-Kill to draw a card. So it's a really difficult deck to pilot. There's a lot of interactions that you have to stay on top of, and the Runick cards themselves are pretty difficult to pilot because you can't really misplay. It's very punishing for misplaying. You'll also notice that they used 8 cards out of their extra deck, so if you do break this board, their follow-up in terms of extra deck follow-up is kind of weak. There's not a whole lot they can do. After that, they're kind of banking on this resolving or trying to outgrind you or deck you out with the Runick cards. But this is what you want to look out for. So we'll get into the blowout cards versus this deck. The first blowout card that's just insane. Sorry, I'll go back. Little misclick there. The first one is Retaliating C. This card is crazy versus Runick cards because Runicks and Live Twins get their advantages by utilizing the graveyard. So if you can chain Retaliating C to one of their Runick spells, that special summons a monster to the EMZ, it's going to lock them under the Macrocosmos effect of Retaliating C, and it's going to really set them behind because there's not a whole lot they can do. They would have to kind of hard draw something like a Freezing Curses or something to pop the Retaliating C. So trapping them under the macro is really strong. They can't get a lot of their live twin plays. They can't generate advantage from using the fountain to put back cards because there won't be any in the graveyard to put back. So if your deck can side Retaliating C, I would recommend it because it's so strong versus most all Runick variants. It's not particularly strong against Spright in general because if you remember back to tier format, that would main deck Shifter. So Spright doesn't care as much about the graveyard, but the Runick engine really cares about the graveyard, and the Live Twin engine is really graveyard dependent. So Retaliating C, I would highly recommend you consider. Next card, spoiled it, but Shifter is insane for the same exact reason. I'm not going to go into this one for too long because same thing. Putting him under Macrocosmos just sets him way back. The cool thing I noticed in testing was that even if I drew this as my 6th card, as long as I didn't draw like an Ash Blossom or something or an Impermanence to have in the graveyard, just even activating this during my own turn, it kind of bought me some time, and it makes them neg a little bit on their plays. So Shifter is a really good, really strong option. Like I said, I don't have to go into this too much. Next card, Droll Lockbird. This deck searches a lot. The whole gimmick behind the Live Twins is they're going to draw a bunch of cards. So they're going to, draw off the fountain. They're going to draw off the Kiss a Kill, or Leela. So the fact that if you can draw them, sometimes one of their opening plays would be using a Runick spell to search fountain, and if you can draw them from there, probably not a ton they can do. The board that you're going to face is not going to be as overwhelming. So I like Droll a lot this format for that reason. It really shines versus the Live Twin Spright. It also shines versus the Fur Hire version. I'm sure you guys have heard about that version. It's very strong as well. They can draw a bunch of cards, same kind of thing. So Droll was really powerful. Next card, Dark Ruler No More. You can just go ahead and activate the Dark Ruler, and then they can't use their Carrot, they can't use their Live Twins, they can't use their IP to go into their Floodgate. Dark Ruler is really strong. If you can, this format, I would probably consider main decking the Dark Ruler just because Spright itself is so popular. And some of those Spright boards, man, they're really difficult to break if you don't have the Dark Ruler. So I like Dark Ruler a lot. I would consider main decking it. If it's not in your main, most likely it needs to be in your side. It's that strong. Next card will go into kind of the blowouts that you can side deck into versus Runick Spright. The best one, hands down, nothing is close, is Eradicator. Eradicator Epidemic Virus. So the best thing about this card is if you activate it, it's game over. They, like I said, their entire gimmick is drawing cards. So each card that they draw, you're just gonna destroy it if it's a spell. So once you've activated this and it's resolved, the game is pretty much over for them. Their game plan has been completely annihilated. There's really nothing they can do. They could maybe try to make a Zeus play or a Mosquito, something to try to end the game quickly, but the entire Runick, I mean, you saw the deck. There's 16 to 20, probably not 20, 16 to 19 Runick cards. So the fact that they're all dead, I guess 20 when you count Fountain. So, the fact that they're all dead is extremely overwhelming for them. Most of the times when I activated this in testing, my opponent would just scoop. It's game over. So Eradicator is hands down the best option. The next best option is Antispell Fragrance. I don't know why this picture is so blurry, but it is. Antispell Fragrance is crazy. Obviously, they play so many spells. You can only chain so many. If they don't have the destruction to pop it, then this thing resolves and you probably win the game. They might be able to go for a Zeus play or something to get rid of it. But all in all, Antispell is extremely strong. it's probably the next best option to side deck versus Spright Runick. Next one, this one is not played as much. I haven't heard many people talking about this, but this card is crazy versus them. For the rest of the turn, negate all equip, field, continuous, and quick play spell card effects on the field. You want to get the most value out of this by chaining to one of them, or chaining to, maybe the Runick Fountain, because if you just kind of shotgun this, they're just going to chain their cards to it, and they'll still resolve. But you can get a lot of value out of this card. I mean, for the rest of the turn, they're basically doing nothing. This card is crazy. I think you should seriously consider looking at this for your side, testing it out. It's really powerful versus Runick Spright. Next, we'll kind of get into generic utility cards you might be playing anyway that could potentially overlap. I think Forbidden Droplet is really good versus every deck that's not Kashtira. Obviously, it's not that good versus Labyrinth as well. If they're playing the furniture build, it's okay. It doesn't target, so you can still do that to the lady. Kind of disrupt some of the lady plays there, and you can stop the lovely hand ripping you. So, I mean, Droplet's pretty good. The fact that it can't be responded to, if you could send a trap, that would be really good. I don't know why I'm getting into Labyrinth too much. But Droplet is really good because they can't respond to it. So, on the end board that we looked at, if you can Droplet the carrot and the IP, then the only thing you have to deal with is the runic spells. And sometimes those aren't enough to save the game for them completely, because you got to remember they've activated those in their first turn. So they are not going to have a battle phase next turn. So if you can really slow them down, you can try to win on your following turn. And Droplet is really good at slowing them down. I think this card is going to see a comeback. It's good against, like I said, everything but Kashtira. And I think it's really powerful in the matchup. Next card is Evenly Matched. Like I said, you're going to have to bait out the Spright Carrot, because most of the good Runick Spright players are going to leave out that carrot because they're most afraid of an evenly matched. The rest of the cards they can kind of deal with, but an evenly just blows them out. So you have to bait out the carrot somehow, maybe like an impermanence, or if you have Dark Ruler Evenly, obviously that's always been the killer combo, Dark Ruler Evenly. But yeah, Evenly is really strong, obviously. Next card is going to be, I used a picture of Druid Worm, but this is any Bestial. Bestials themselves are really strong versus the Live Twin variant, because, like I said, the entire game plan of that, of the Runick Spright Live Twin variant is to kind of trap you under that skill drain. But if you summon one Druid Worm, you've pretty much outed that. And not only that, but they can actually disrupt the opponent. If you open them, you can kind of use them as hand traps, because the live twins, the evil twins, are going to be bringing each other back from the graveyard, and they're lights and darks. So you can banish them from the graveyard, kind of get them out of there, all the while putting yourself ahead, because their entire play to go into the Griffin is kind of not very good anymore, because you can just Druid Worm crash into it and then out something else as well. The fact that these Bestials are 2,500 free bodies is kind of crazy. I know Yu-Gi-Oh! Has progressed so much in the past couple of years, we kind of overlooked that. Like, oh, wow, these are a 2,500 free body, and they have additional effects. They're crazy. So Bestials are really good to side in the matchup. One Druid Worm puts in a lot of work. Next, we have Lava Golem. So again, if we can look at that end board, if you Lava Golem like the carrot and the IP Masquerena, the rest of the board kind of isn't doing anything. It's nothing. You're just dealing with the Runick card. So Lava Golem's really strong. Next, I wanted to talk about cards that are just flat out not good. Cards like Lightning Storm, Dark Hole, Regeki, cards that destroy, Interrupted Kaiju Slumber, like cards that destroy are just not good in the matchup, because they can chain any of their Runick cards, and assuming that they have the EMZ available. So that's kind of a big if. But if they have the EMZ available, they can chain one of their Runick cards. They can summon the Hugin. I want to say Hugin. I'm thinking Moonin in my head, but I think it's Hugin. And then it has a passive effect where it can banish itself to save other cards from being destroyed. So destruction effects like that are typically not that good. The exception is if they have the IP, they're still going to go IP into something like an Abomination or the Nightmare Griffin, and then that won't be destroyed by card effects because it was made with the IP. So you're still going to be facing down the Floodgate, or you're going to be facing something like an Abomination, which is really strong. It's going to just keep popping cards. And then if they have something in their hand, like a Runick Destruction or something that destroys, they can just kind of plus off that. So these cards are just not that good. I wouldn't really side this in. Cosmic Cyclone is, if you can side Cosmic Cyclone, that's always been a blowout card versus Runick cards, because if you hit the Fountain, they've most likely kept their Runick cards in hand because they can activate them in hand if they have the Fountain. But if you Cosmic that away, that's something that can bait out the Spright Carrot as well, because you kind of have to negate that, or else you just lose to the blowout cards. So Cosmic is a card I would 100% play side in at least 2 of them, probably 3. It's really strong. That's all we have for today. I missed the slide with the Cosmic, but make sure, please, side Cosmic Cyclone. It's insane in the matchup. That's all we have for today. Comment down below if there's anything that we missed, if there's any kind of silver bullet cards that you found that have been really impactful in the matchup. We really appreciate you watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe. This is Shane from House of Cards TCG, signing up.